I have females. I think the people that have tried to pull me down have been women. Do you know, to the point where, okay, so for example, obviously my brand has evolved and now its main one. I mean, before, the foundation of my brand is the gym. But I've since evolved and I now have the wellness events, which is big because now I manage events for very big corporates. And so you have, for example, a run that that I'm managing. The slightest thing, I'll give you an example. There was things, if a person who manages events, you'll know things don't always go according to plan, no matter how much you put in and no matter how much because I can't be everywhere. So you have to actually delegate, you have to trust someone. It's my team and I'll take responsibility for it. But there are things that happen at these events all the time, no matter how much you prepare for it. If it happens at an Eve's event, Nyenge, the bad publicity for the one thing, so I can get everything else right. But the one thing that is a mishap, the whole event is labeled on that thing.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Moments with Nyengeterai. I just want to say thank you so much to the community for everything that you're doing, for the likes, the subscribing, the sharing, the messages. The messages are so much fun. Thank you. And the suggestions, yes, we've listened to some of them and we're going to implement some of the ideas that you've given us. And please continue to subscribe, to share with your friends, with your family, and just let this community grow. So today I am so excited about my guest. I've known her for years, and some of you have asked for her, and you sent certain questions that you want me to ask her. So it's really nice to finally have her on set. Eve, welcome.
Thanks, Nyenge.
For those people who don't know you, what's your call to fame? Who you are? Or just introduce yourself.
Okay. My name is Evonne Mudzingwa, well known as Eve to people that know me professionally or people that have actually gotten to know me in the last couple of decades. Are we that old?
Imagine.
The last couple of decades know me as Eve. So I'm well known for wellness. And then to some like you know me from other places. So my brand is Eve's Wellness, which I embarked on very late in life. And that's my claim to fame. Yeah.
So Eve, when I look back at what you're doing now and when I met you, I'm trying to understand how maybe your childhood played a role in who you are today and what you're doing today.
Yeah. Nyenge, when I look at my life now, I'm also shocked at where I'm at. If anybody had asked me 30 years ago, as a child, if this is what I was going to do, it definitely wasn't on the radar. Looking back, if I had grown up in a different time, it was pretty obvious this is where I would be. But when we were growing up, being a fitness trainer, there was no career in fitness to speak of. Well, it was there, but we were not aware of it. I was always a sporty person. I come from a small town, a family of alpha male, very sporty. I don't know if that shaped me or it's just genetic because my brothers are very athletic. My brothers played first team rugby. If there was, we were those kids that if you were in the same age group as us and you were swimming or you were running or whatever it is that you were doing, shame, it's late for you. Just if there was a Mudzingwa in your it was late. I was so competitive to the point if I came second. I remember this one time I came second in 100-meter sprints. I stopped. I just literally just stopped. I was a sore loser. I just stopped. So yes, it my childhood did shape a lot of who I am right now. Coming from a family of boys only, sports, it's a way of life for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when I look back and you're talking about growing up with boys only,
Yeah.
how did that shape your childhood? I mean, did you even have any girlfriends? I mean, like, how did it shape your childhood?
Okay, so I had one female friend. I always had like one friend at each stage, female, but I was a girl's boy. I'm a boy's girl. All my friends, most of my friends were boys. I hung out with boys. I did boys stuff. Occasionally, I would play mahumbe as well, but I was mainly climbing trees. I was mainly playing bora de chigweshe. That was where I excelled, and I was with the girlfriends. I was the girl that would protect my girlfriends. I would fight my girlfriends. I would fight the boys. So I was that girl. But I did have girlfriends.
But growing up in a small community, how did people take that? Because I know, anyone who grew up in the 70s knows that if you were still playing with boys, you were labeled and whatever.
Yeah.
How, especially in a small town, I mean, how did that affect you and, growing up?
I was labeled. I was labeled because, first of all, my dressing. I was that girl that used to wear jeans. I was that girl that used to wear, believe it or not, back in the day, jeans, my trousers, when I'm scanner. No. So I used to wear jeans. I used to wear shorts. I used to literally live in boxer shorts. So my brother's rugby shorts, sporting shorts, that's what I used to wear. We used to share clothes. And it was frowned upon, especially as I started growing up and growing into a woman. Yeah, you got labeled. And on top of all that, I was just hanging out with the boys. My best friends are still boys. That's comfortable. But also I'm coming from a family where I'm the only girl. So I'm very, very comfortable amongst males. I'm more myself and more comfortable. I find it very difficult to actually relate to women. So I actually minimize my interactions or hang out. So I don't do kitchen parties. I don't do baby showers. I don't know how to behave.
I don't know how to behave.
I don't know. I don't know what happens there. So where the boys are, that's where you were gonna find me. So obviously, in a small town, you get a lot of labels for that. Yeah.
And how did your parents support you through this? Especially being the only girl, you're in a small town, and this is happening. Did they maybe just encourage you to be you, or were they also saying, nah, yeah?
My mom was very laid back. She was growing up with terrors of boys, and the girl just was part of the terror. She let us be. My mom was very chilled. My mom was not the mom that would tell you to not hang out with this child, not to do this, my mom wouldn't label other children. She just embraced everybody. And a lot of our friends, as we were growing up, they actually used to come to my house. Our house was the open house where you were free. You were not judged. My dad was very supportive. My dad always used to say to people, if people were questioning, your daughter wears my shorts, your daughter is always with boys, akangwarisa. My dad always used to say, no, my daughter, anangwarisa. She has leadership qualities. She's assertive. Wow. Let her be, So that shaped a lot of who I am. So I didn't really pay hit to it because the people that really mattered in my life supported me. My dad didn't think there was anything wrong with me hanging out with the boys. Also empowered me and trusted me. And best believe, growing up with boys, those boys prepared me proper. When I was
for the real world,
even advice. When I went to the girls' school, high school. Before I went, my brother sat me down. They told me all the tricks that the boys would try and do when I got to high school. Don't go for walks. You're going to go for dance. If a boy says to you, let's go for a walk, no, you didn't go there for a walk.
During a dance.
You can dance. So so I was equipped. So it had a lot of advantages. There's very few things that boys can get away with that I don't see past. So yeah.
And then, so you're in a small town in Chegutu, and how then do you get to Harare? How did you get to come to Harare for high school? And how did your life proceed then into banking and then outside there to what you're doing now?
All right, so born, bred, literally in Chegutu, that was me. Our town, Kadoma town, was where the high school that everybody in Chegutu went to, everybody in Kadoma, Jamison High School, beautiful school. But I didn't want to go to Jamison. I didn't want my world to evolve. As much as I loved my small town, as much as I was happy to be there, I also didn't want that to be all my life was about. I don't want to go to primary school in Chegutu, then go to Kadoma, 30 k's away, meet a boy, a farming boy, get married and have children, and no, that wasn't
the farm.
and yeah, that was not what I had for myself. That was not my portion in life. I was going to Harare, I was like, I'm going to the big city. I'm going to see what
Sunshine City.
Yeah, so pretty much against my parents' wishes, I applied by myself to go to Harare, and ended up at Girls High School.
And how was high school for you, especially having grown up in an all boys family and in a small town? Then you're now coming big town, girls.
Yeah.
Was that a shocker? How was high school?
High school was very interesting. I guess I still got labeled as a naughty person because I had a problem with conforming to what was supposed to be normal, what girls were supposed to be doing. So I was always in trouble. But it was a girls' school, so it wasn't like bad trouble. And I got my break when Prince Edward, which was our brother's school, they used to have a rowing team. So they came in and they were looking for girls to complement their rowing team. So we were like the pioneers of girls' high school rowing team. So they just came in, but there were prerequisites. You had to be a boarder. You had to be a strong swimmer. So they just came in and they said PE. In fact, they actually came and said PE boys are looking for girls. My hand was up.
What the rest of the thing was.
I was like, yes, please. Whatever it is,
I want it.
If it entails us spending, did you say the weekend with PE boys? I'm in. So that was an out for me. So with rowing, we used to go to Unyani Rowing Club, spend the whole weekend there.
Wow.
So that for me, it was the highlight of my high school. So now I was in my element. We would have the PE bus would come pick us up with 40, 50 boys, and we were 6 girls. Early in the morning, like break of dawn, we jump into the bus, we go to Onyani, and we spend the whole day there. I was at home. I was comfortable. So that's the highlight of my high school. I was not academic.
Yeah, no.
I mean, I was not dumb, but that was my highlight.
Okay. Yeah. And then from there, how did you transcend into your next part of your life, which is your adulthood?
So, O-levels done. I had no intention of going for A-levels. So I sat my parents down because, back then it was very structured. You do your O-levels, A-level, varsity, And I dropped a bombshell in them. I said, I'm not going for A-levels. I am not doing A-levels. Why? Yes, I will pass, but I don't like school. And right now, quite frankly, I don't see why I should, because back in the day, you could excel with just O-levels. So, after a while, they realized, I said, no, I'm actually not doing that. So, but I didn't know what I wanted to do.
I think I'm sure they must have fought you.
Oh, no, they did.
I remember back then, you couldn't even say, half the time you couldn't even tell your parents what you wanted to do.
Yeah. No, that it wasn't going to happen. But I was very adamant. I just didn't want. Mainly because, first of all, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't want to go for A-level and just, So finished high school, went and did secretarial because I figured secretarial is the one thing that every industry requires. So if I circled enough industries, I would figure out what I wanted to do, So went to my human resources, what we used to call them, those employment agencies, and specifically told them I want to get these jobs in different departments. So put me in marketing, put me in finance, put me in different industries so that I get an understanding. I think there's no better way. I mean, a person who's a secretary, you get to know exactly what is happening. So I spent 2 years just temping and text. Temps don't get text. Enjoying my money, I'm young because I was pretty young. I mean, I'm 18, I'm 17, I'm already out in the world, I'm working. And then that's when I realized I loved marketing. I enjoyed marketing. It came naturally to me. I was creative. Then I decided to do my IMM. So that's when I did IMM after that. Started looking for a job. Several years later of that secretariat, then I landed at NMB Bank. That's how I got into banking.
Paths crossed.
That's when our paths crossed. So I got to NMB Bank as PA to the marketing manager. So I had been at Astra Paints. I was her PA at Astra Paints. She got a job, moved to NMB Bank, and she insisted that I go with her. It was good, So she insisted I go with her. So that's how I got into the banking industry. But already I was on my journey of doing my IMM. Back then I had already had LCCI. It was this low qualification called LCCI.
I remember
that one, yeah. I did pretty much everything. I did LCCI, all of these things. Then, so she's marketing, and that's exactly why I was now strategically putting myself in marketing, PA and secretarial positions in marketing departments for that transition. So got to NMB Bank, and then an opening came up for marketing assistant. So if you're in the, banking sector and all of that, or corporate, you'll know that a PA, you get to a point where a PA is regarded as assistant manager. You're on the same level as assistant manager. As marketing assistant, you're actually a grade lower. And I had to make that decision where it was, I finally got a chance. I got my into marketing. But it's a pay cut. I'm going all the way down. What do I do? And I made that call because I said to myself, okay, so PA, this is the ceiling. Where do I go from here? This is as good as it's going to get. But I want to go further in marketing. I am seeing myself, sky's the limit. So stepped down, became marketing assistant at NMB Bank. And so there were 2 Evonnes in marketing. And I was the newbie. So I had to cut my name to Eve. And that's how I started being called Eve. So the Eve was not from Inuit, it was from NMB Bank. And then a couple of years, I think I did 2-3 years at NMB Bank. Then an opportunity arose to move into advertising. So I left and then started, these are things that people didn't even know. So left NMB Bank, and then I started IQ Media. Back then we called it Outdoor Media with my then husband. So then I just moved from banking into, which again is pretty much the same as marketing, advertising, marketing, hand in hand. Did that for, I think, 3-4 years. Then at 32, I think we had that whole dip, 2008, where everything that just came to a standstill. Our business was hit hard. We closed shop, started working from home, and decisions had to be made, and I went through a bit of a personal scare, a health scare, a cancer scare, and I had to do surgery and all of that stuff. And then while I was recuperating, I'm now 32. While I was recuperating, I needed to go for a retreat. Just me time. Just, when you've had a health scare on that level, I just needed to go and reset. Just reevaluate my life. What is it? So, but being a fitness person, I've always trained my entire life. From the time I was in, primary school, that whole thing, exercise has always been a part of my life. I would go to the gym. When I couldn't afford the gym, I run. I can't run, I cycle, whatever is there, because I'm an all-rounder like that. So I wanted a wellness retreat, and I couldn't find one. Researched, Zim, nothing. The nearest one was South Africa. I couldn't afford it then. So I figured, okay, why don't I organize a fitness retreat? Because I'm thinking I can't be the only person who needs this service. Did my research and figured it would be pretty expensive, because I was looking at like Nyanga, and the most expensive thing on that list were the trainers, because I would have to engage fitness trainers, pay for their accommodation, everything, and all that cost obviously would have to be
borne by you.
Yeah. Well, pushed to whoever it is that we're going with. And it was coming up to about, I think, $500, $600. And I'm thinking, no one's going to pay that much. Then I thought, what if I go and train to be a trainer? Then I host it. Then I absorb the expenses, that whole thing. And that's how I became a trainer. Wow. So actually then, and because, again, but I'm looking around, and back then I think there was about 2 female fitness trainers certified that I knew of, and then it was a very white industry.
It was very white
industry. Yeah. It was a very well-kept secret.
Yeah.
Very well-kept secret. And we actually didn't think a person could make a career of it. But then I was just going so I can have this retreat. I bumped into a friend who was based in Bahrain. He was doing this body combat. What do you call body combat? He showed me this DVD. He says, you must try it out. But it's in Malaysia. This qualification by Les Mills was in Malaysia. This is 2008. So I was like, okay, I liked it. It's mixed martial arts, non-contact. So I said, okay, cool. I'm going to Malaysia. I'd never been to Malaysia. Googled, did my bookings online, everything, took my backpack, and I was off to Malaysia. I remember to the point where I got to this backpackers, because I'm that type of girl, by the way. I will do my 2 pairs of jeans, my 2 pairs of shorts, and my 5 T-shirts, and my flip-flops, and my Converse, and I'm out. I'm good.
Sure.
That's it. And
I'm good.
I'll have and I'm good.
Face with what if it's hot, what if it's cold, what if this, what if this.
No, I'm good, and my hoodie, and I'm good. And no makeup, nothing, my roll-on toothbrush, Vaseline, I'm good to go. So I'm that type of girl. Got to Malaysia with my backpack, backpackers lodge, looked nice. 2 days later, I'm thinking there are so many mosquitoes here, because I was being bit left, right, and center. Then I started looking, but when I didn't remember hearing any mosquitoes, but I would be bit the whole night. Started looking around, flipped the mattress. Yo!
Bed bugs.
Yo! Do you know, I actually had to go and get some to the pharmacy and get some medication that's how bad I was. So, when we were young, yeah, that was me. But anyway, I'm in Malaysia. Anyway, I digress. So that's when I did my training. I was there for a month, because I figured if I'm going there, I might also stay there for a month. Did my training.
You stayed in that backpacker's place?
Oh no! Then I moved. Then I decided, okay, maybe this backpacking thing. Let me just tone it down a little bit. let me go into a decent hotel. So I moved into a decent hotel. So while I was there, I did my training. I toured Singapore, got into a bus. Every time I go overseas, I prefer to use road, rail, because I love to see. That's the best way to explore a country. And then I came back with my body combat certification, started training, went into the gym that I was at. Somebody said to me, "Oh, now you're a trainer. Are you going to own your? Are you going to? What are your plans? Are you going to own your gym?" I looked at them. I'm like, "With what money? No, it wasn't even on the radar." And you know that whole thing where you're thinking, "I don't have the finances. I don't have the capacity." So you're not even thinking
the big
like
picture.
that. You're not even thinking that. Then I started planning my retreat. And while I was planning the retreat, so the gym I used to go to, you know, this general gyms where it's all about the guys, the machines, and then, you know, there's the token class here and there
For the females.
So I used to do the classes. We would get to the classes. Sometimes the instructor wouldn't be there, the classes would be cancelled, all sorts of things, and we would just go back home, or the others would go back home. Most women are intimidated with the whole male environment. I would just go and use the machines with the guys. I was okay. But then it made me realize that there's a gap.
The market.
There's a market, there's a gap. Because I was thinking, okay, so you women are going home, so if there's no class, you're going home. You're uncomfortable where there's men. So I thought to myself, what if I open a space? What if I find a space? Because now I'm a trainer. What if I find a space and I just train you guys and I host the classes, body combat, and then I'll figure out one or two other things to
along the way.
And that's how I started Eve's Wellness. It wasn't planned. I didn't sit down and come up with this whole big plan. So I guess it's one of my favorite sayings is, life is what happens when we're planning, when we're mapping life, when we're creating our dreams, and we're busy thinking I'm going to do ABCD. I was still on my tip where I'm going to push, the
retreat,
the retreat, or whatever it is. Yet God had other plans for me. So, but it's about Him placing me. So all this, when I look back, all this was for me to go on my path, my destiny, which is Eve's Wellness, what it then became. And because I was so authentic about it, because I was doing it, I didn't get into it for money. It was because I wanted to have classes. I wanted that, and I wanted that for other women. So that's how we started. I then moved to, I started looking around. I was just wanting, I didn't have big dreams. I was very realistic about what I could. I just wanted a space. So I went to ZB Sports Club. I asked if I could use if they had space, which they didn't. Then I looked across the field, the rugby field. There was this dilapidated old rugby changing room. I asked to have a look. It was really dilapidated. They hadn't used it in 25 years.
Wow.
Yeah. But I looked at it and I saw what I saw. They were looking at a dilapidated building. I saw what I saw, And I said to them, can I use this? And they thought I was crazy. I said, sure. You can even take it for free. Do what you want. I said, okay, cool. I took it, tore it apart, painted it, ripped the carpet off, swept those concrete, figured I definitely don't have money to put tiles.
Keep the concrete.
So keep concrete, but let me go buy some paint. Painted it. So painted it, the walls, painted the floor, got my speaker, put my flyers out. There was no social media. So there was no Facebook, whatnot. Did my flyers, gave my daughters were young then, so pretty eager. Went to schools. I'd put my little flyers on the schools around the neighborhood, tell one or two people. There was no WhatsApp, so you couldn't do WhatsApp groups. So, yeah, that's how I started. And then I said, aerobic center, and got my first 30 clients. We started off at the end of that month. We got $1,200. That's how much I know what it was. Went to South Africa, bought my first equipment, 10 mats, 10 balls, I think 10 skipping ropes. It's all that I could afford. And I think maybe 2-3 dumbbells. Money gone. But I felt
So good.
So good. I felt so accomplished. I was so happy. And I had my clients. And every month, whenever I got a little bit of money, you know how it is where you've got clients that are, someone's going to Botswana. Guys, ladies, who's going to Botswana? Please, can you bring me an aerobic step? This one, literally, that's how Eve's Wellness started. And never even considered borrowing. It took me, I think, about 5 years to actually, so everything that I've ever had over the years, it's literally just a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit, until one day I woke up and, wow, here I am.
You're a brand.
I'm a brand. I'm like, so yeah, all that happened while I was just living my life. I remember there was a time when we started having the power cuts. The generators hadn't kicked in. Solar was not even thought of. I'd get to class, there's no power. And I remember a friend of mine saying, just cancel. Because I'm like, no. We're not canceling. We started going with candles. But it was because I was so passionate about what I did. That kept me going. I loved what I did. One winter, I had one client through winter. And I showed up, and she wanted to train at 5 a.m. I showed up every single day at 5 a.m. for that client. But it's because I loved it. I enjoyed it. But yeah, that's pretty much how the Eve's brand started. So, I have people that come in and say to me, Eve, can you tell us, I want to start. How do I start? Can I have a business plan? How did you start? Let's have your business. I'm like,
God had the business plan. I just happened to be in there.
I didn't have a business plan. But yeah, so that's how that started. Not planned.
So when you look, like you're saying that God kind of like placed you in there was no business plan or whatever. But if you look at your work experience and you look at how you grew up, what are the things that you think maybe prepared you for that, for what you were going through with Eve's Wellness and, that transition?
Okay, so it hasn't been an easy journey because when I started the Eve's Wellness, like I said, it was still not people of color were not many that were doing it. And we have sadly, we don't support each other very well, So just putting it out there, people will look at you like, that sort of negativity just coming through. Will she make it? Will she not make it? And people would come to my when they looked at it, they saw this little shack. When I looked at it, I saw Virgin acting. I saw my dream. This is a place where I breathed life into it to the point where it got very popular at some point, where you had a lot of women coming, and I even had people that were coming and copying and wanting to see what the deal was. If I tell you the number of people that started ladies' gyms after I started, that tried to do this, because there's that would come and look and think, this is easy. Is this it? And then they would go and obviously those that had the resources do up their whole studios and make them look nice, and still didn't understand why they were not succeeding. They didn't understand that the key was me. I had the soul. I was the heart and soul. I still am of my brand. If I tell you that my clients, with my clients, I know my clients on a very personal level. Over the years, there's some clients that I've had that got married while I was still with them, had their children. I was part of their journeys. People share their sorrows, their griefs, their happy, everything. So that is what people didn't come for the building. People didn't come for equipment, which I didn't have. People came for me. And I think that was the biggest asset. And there was a lot of criticism along the way. People were trying to pull me down. Because you see, when people go to the bigger gyms. There's no face. So who are you going to complain to? Even if everything's shoddy, they don't have. But with me, it's Eve this, Eve that, Eve this. Even now, I still get a lot of that. I think my childhood prepared me for that because I was that child who every parent talked about. I was that labeled child. And things like that just go over my head. I'm on my own journey. I'm on my own path. I know who I am. If there's anything that my parents in my childhood prepared me for, is I believe in me. I run my own race. And I've never had, like even now, I have one female friend. I've got a lot of acquaintances. I've got a lot of people around me that, but person who people know me, but a person who really, really knows me, it's just one female. And then I've got my support system, which is my male friends. The people that I'm closest to that know me are my friends. I'm male. So, and with males, they're very simple people. They're very straightforward. They're black and white, And if any of my male friends comes and tells me what they tell me, they're telling me as it is. There's no hidden agenda. There's no sugarcoating, and it is what it is. And so it's a very straightforward setup. So yeah, in that regard, my childhood prepared me for that. And obviously the sporty aspect, just having to fight my way through anything. I am resilient. I don't give up easily. And once I set my mind on something, I will see it through. By whatever means necessary. And it's helped me a lot in the business. Yeah.
When you're talking, the one thing that I think without realizing it actually through the years is just how strong your personal brand is, and what you stand for, and just being so authentic. I think that's the biggest thing. Just that you're just so authentic, because I remember, I actually remember when I was at CMAS, when I did my short stint at CMAS, then I launched iGo, and you wanted to do the thing, and I was like, oh yeah, let's Eve that the marathon. Yeah. Like, oh, who's she? That kind of thing. And what you're talking about the label, I think it's I don't know whether I should say, is it a disease or I don't know how to label it. How do we get around that? Because I find that we have these women
on women violence.
Women's no, like these women's get-togethers, women supporting them. Yeah. But really, at the end of the day, I find that they're not really supportive.
No.
How do we get by that? What do we do? How?
Nyenge, you talk about, I'm, okay, so I have females, I think the people that have tried to pull me down have been women. To the point where, okay, so for example, obviously my brand has evolved, and now its main one, before, the foundation of my brand is the gym. But I've since evolved, and I now have the wellness events, which is big because now I manage events for very big corporates. And so you'll have, for example, a run that that I'm managing. The slightest thing, I'll give an example. There was things, if a person who manages events, things don't always go according to plan, no matter how much you put in, and no matter how much because I can't be everywhere. So you have to actually delegate, you have to trust someone. It's my team, and I'll take responsibility for it. But there are things that happen at these events all the time, no matter how much you prepare for it. If it happens at an Eve's event, Nyenge, the bad publicity for the one thing, so I can get everything else right, but the one thing that is a mishap, the whole event is labeled on that thing. You get somebody else, another corporate has an event, they do maybe 10 times worse. You don't even hear about it. And the people that start the complaints are mostly females. And I I've come to understand that sometimes it comes from a place of envy, sometimes it comes from a place of jealous, where I think people probably look at me and they think my life is so perfect, it's so happy, and they want to find it can't be that perfect. It can't be doing we have to find something that, and I think that's what we women do. So if I look at you and I think, right, she's got her hair on point, she seems happy, then I will then start to look over, to poke. I want to find that thing that, no, there's no way. Why are you so happy? Why is your life so perfect? Why is everything flowing? And I think that's the thing with us women, that I want to pull you down. So I'm going to go into your personal life. I'm going to go into your business. I'm going to go and find or fabricate whatever it is, and then bingo, and then I will run with that. So I've had a lot of negativity from females, which is sad, but a blessing in disguise, because they have made me stronger. They have made me want to excel, because every time I've had an event and they've criticized it, I've gone back to the drawing board. Some of it fairly, it was very constructive, some of it justified, and I really go through everything and I look at it and I really separate, and I also own things, my mistakes. I also own and I improve it. So because of that criticism, Basarang, I'm good at what I do, Nyenge. You know what I mean? It's and I am there. And I think what makes my brand authentic is because I am in there. I am not delegating. If anybody who knows me and has watched me work, I am there. I'm such a perfectionist. To a point where my runs, I will put the directional signs personally, because I want to oversee everything, and obviously it makes me work hard, and it takes a lot out of me, but that's just who I am. I just want to make sure, and I think that is what has made my brand successful. Yeah,
I love that. That resilience and the fact that when everything that's happened has made you stronger, because I find that a lot of then people, I was one of those where if people said anything, it used to really affect me, and I'd go and cower away and then cry, then come back and okay. But what I found is that once especially after I'd done the training for becoming a coach, I realized that a lot of these people, a lot of unhealed people, hurt people. So and because of that, I now have so much grace when they say, I'm just I love Mel Robbins. Let them. Yeah. Say okay, let them, and I get on with it. And I think when people see the new me, they're wonder who's this person who's now developed. But I find that with time, when you grow, it actually gives you resilience and it strengthens you. So in a way, there's a positive to a negative every time. But how has that affected your parenting, let's say, with the girls?
Parenting, that's a whole other topic right there. You know what? I think there's no formula when it comes to parenting. I think we all wing it and hope we are doing the best. And I think we are a product of our childhood. And where you're thinking, I'm nailing it, you might not. You know what I mean? So I don't know, because I'm trying to think what kind of a parent was I. I think I was a very liberal parent, because my parents also very liberal. So my home was that home, like our home. Because our home, like I said, we were the family that all our friends would come to, to the point where my brother's friends introduced their girlfriends to my mom first before anybody else. That sort of. So I think I also raised my kids liberally like that. Did I do good? Did I not? I don't know. But I was that parent who was very involved in my children's lives. I didn't miss their sports whenever I could. I was very supportive. I was that mother that knew if my daughter was in a hockey team, I knew all the hockey
the
members,
members.
and I would be that parent that's running up and down the field and screaming, and you've got this, you know. I was at almost every event. I was present.
Wow.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, those little humans are their own humans.
They are, and it's also our first time being
parents. Yeah.
I was just saying, someone now I find that there are a lot of things that I now forgive my parents for, like, oh, they did this. I'm like, but it was their first time being a parent. You know, no one has ever had this experience. Yeah. So now look at you, and you've done. Okay, I know we're running out of time, but I wanted to really touch on the triathlon.
Yeah.
How do you prepare for this? And also, it's a black woman swimming those long. I mean, the endurance, like.
Yeah.
In fact, what made you start doing the triathlon and the biking while we're at it? Because we are running out of time, but I need to touch on the biking and how we got into all that.
All right, so I'll get quickly on the triathlons. Triathlon, again, it's something that if anybody had asked me 6 years ago if I would ever do a triathlon, I would have said absolute no, because being a sports person all my life, I know how hard it is to do the individual sports. Never mind, I always used to actually think people who did triathlons were actually crazy.
I still think they are.
Yeah, you know, like, why are you making life 3 times harder than it normally needs to be? So a friend of mine who had lost a friend or a relative to cancer approached me, and she says, Coach, she was actually a client and a friend. Coach, I want to do this in honor of my relative. I want to do a triathlon. I'm like, oh, well, good for you. She says, no, but I want you to do it with me. I'm like, no, that's not what we're doing. Mm-hmm. But anyway, she bullied me into doing it. I had last been in the pool in school. I had last been on a bicycle in primary school because I used to cycle to school. I'd done comrades to ocean, so the running I was quite comfortable with. She literally bullied me. We went to Nyanga, the same triathlon, and she says to me, no, how hard can it be? And I'm thinking, how hard can it be to swim? Anyway, got on the bike for the first time. I didn't even know this bike. So I did the shortest distance, which is 375 meters swimming. By the way, I'm coming from swimming in a pool into this. Did it, came out, almost passed out. Did the cycle hard because, you know, Nyanga did the little run, done. What got me through that first time is just stubbornness, because I'm just a stubborn person. Once I start something, I see it through. Finished it, and then I ended up somewhere on the podium. And after I got back, I was like, hang on, I did all of that with no training. How's about I actually put my back into this? You know what I mean? And that's how I started the whole triathlon thing, and started doing it. And the thing with triathlon is, like I said, it's a very white sport. Very few people, it's not taught in schools or anything like that. So you actually do it later on. So I got there. I'm this hippie chick, older than everybody else, and then I just got into it. Initially, people thought, nah, she's going to give up. And I stuck it through, and I challenged myself each time. Went and did Ironman in Durban. I did ultras in Namibia. And I think what keeps me going is I don't compete with anybody. I set goals for myself, and then I just go for it. It's hard. It's really, really hard.
Oh, it looks very hard. I don't understand why a person would want to torture themselves like that.
But I'll tell you a funny story. So the first time I did the long one, when you get to a place and people are looking at you like, I don't know if you've ever, like, back in the day when I was going to my children's swimming galas or whatever, I remember, and they'd say, right, swimming parents race, and then stand up. And then you can see everybody else. The fellas are like, who's this black parent? Like, this black parent is going to drown. Yeah. One of those things. So it was one of those. I got in the water and I could tell people were a bit uncomfortable about.
She's going to come out alive.
This one. Yeah. So they had 2 kayaks. Because when you're swimming, they give you like 2 kayaks. And they told me, just at any point, if you just jump in. I swam all the way, and they were like with me, and I think they were being told, stay with her. But here I am. I totally love it. It's not easy. It doesn't get any easier. My goal is to actually do the full Ironman next year. So that's my target.
Wow.
And I'm just racing against myself. I'm challenging myself.
I'm looking forward to that, and make sure we get you back after you come back from that one.
Yeah.
And then biking. I mean, I remember when I was in my 40s, I used to tell myself when I turned 50, I'm going to buy myself a bike. And then I went to visit my sister in the States, and then we rode on the bike with her husband. That was the most frightening experience. And I came back, I was like, I'm not biking. How?
It is the most amazing thing. A lot of people, I know people, again, get a lot of negativity about it, especially being the only female and all of that. For the longest, I was the only female that was riding. And obviously, again, that's the story of my life. So, like I said, my childhood prepared me for all of that. But I love biking. It's my mental space. It gives me, I'm so free. I'm so happy when I'm riding. I don't know how to explain it. It's the most amazing feeling. When you're in your helmet, I put my will to rights. I will scream, I will laugh, I will cry, because we've got our music. And normally when I'm riding with my guys, we're communicating. So, at some point, weird stuff, like we can go through a curve, a really nice curve, and you lean into that curve and you're going nice and fast. And we actually scream, like, and we all just laugh. We get it. It's amazing. And I know people say, they think you're going to die. Guys, we're all dying. Don't fear dying, fear not living. It just makes me so happy. And biking in itself, I always say, is not dangerous. It's the elements around us bikers that make it dangerous. So you have very, very few incidences of bikers actually coming off on their own. But it's motorists catching us. It's like I'm saying, drunk drivers and everything like that. But yeah, we've been blessed. I mean, we just did a whole 11-day tour around Southern Africa now.
I saw that. I was like, wow.
Again, I was the only female on that whole trip.
But I think the one thing that you said, which will take us to the next question, is just that whole that we mustn't fear dying, we must fear not living. Yeah. Give me your 5 life lessons when you look at your life and you say, you know what, Ninge, these are my 5 life lessons that I would want your viewers to just live with. Okay, so my favorite one is each day has got its own whatever waiting. That's each day, literally, like in my life, what has been happening is sometimes, especially in terms of business, can have a very dismal day where everything that can go wrong is going wrong. Take time. Write it off because it is what it is. And then the following day, just a phone call changes everything. So I literally live by that. If today is not a good day, it's okay. Let's see what tomorrow brings every single day. So that's one. And the other one that I just said, like that, life is what happens while we're busy planning. So open yourself up to possibilities. Yes, you're planning this, but while you're planning, do not be blind to what is around you and what opportunities are around you and what those can open up. And also, don't take yourself too seriously. It's really not that deep. It's really not that deep. And the other one is like we spoke about that. Don't take what people say about you too seriously. Hurt people, hurt other people. It's just they should heal. Just like you're saying about the strat, and like you're saying, my daughter did that whole vlog and da. So I was actually going through the messages. Bless everybody who put very nice comments. There was one comment where somebody said, I don't know what you're going on about. Your mother owns a gym. She's a professional. She's pretty average. I don't see she's not even all of that. I looked at it with my daughter and we burst out laughing. And you know what we said? I said, she needs to heal. And that's it. And kept life moving. So yeah. So those are things. So just don't take life too seriously. Yeah. And also the last one, if you're trying to start a business, start with what you have, where you are.
don't, like I said, with my brand, I literally started with just me. And, everything falls into place. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. So just to close us off, I'm just going to ask a few fun questions. And okay, what's your favorite color and why?
I love black.
Oh,
I don't know. I just love black because you can wear it with just about anything. I love black, yeah.
Okay, and your favorite animal and why?
I love the eagle because it soars. It's a very strong eagle, and I think I relate to eagle, very protective, very strong, and as much as I need a support system, that independence I was telling you about. So, yeah, I love the eagle.
Wow.
Yeah.
When you look back and you say, this song, whenever I'm like down or whenever I need to pick me up, this is the song that I play, what would that be?
Ever-changing times.
Oh, really?
I see the clock upon the... Okay, I'll stick
I'm not going to attempt to sing that.
I love that song.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's quite good.
And movie?
It's a lot of movies. A lot of movies. I can't even think of one, weirdly. But I'm not your deep, even with books, I'm not going to be the one to say to you, I'm reading Road to Freedom, what, no. I'm out there. When I'm watching a movie, when I'm reading, I'm trying to escape reality. I read and watch movies for escapism. Yeah, so I none of that intelligent stuff, no. I don't want to think too hard, nothing deep. Yeah.
No, but I get that.
Yeah.
Well, with me, with movies, books usually I want to look for deep books, but movies, when I want to escape, so I will do your rom-coms, things like that.
Definite rom-com.
Or a comedy, so I can just laugh.
And
just,
adventure. So I love that.
I get that. If this was your last day on earth, let's say, and you are about to transcend, what is the one thing you would say, you know what, I'm ready to go because I've done what?
Nyenge, I think I've done my life. You know what I mean? It's not even just one thing. I have, from that little girl, that tomboy, from Toby in Chegutu to where I am right now, I think I have by far exceeded anything that I could have dreamed of. I never thought I would be where I am at. I never thought I could be influencing and touching people's lives the way that I do. And I am so humbled, like every time I have people that meet me and they tell me that I've impacted their lives. For me, that's the penultimate. I have achieved. I was here. That's always my payoff line. I was here. I've left my footprint. I think right now, if I were to transcend, I think I've left my legacy for my children, for people, for strangers, for people that I don't even know. And for me, that's what better legacy. So I'm ready anytime. And just my whole life is just... And by the way, what we spoke about, this is like a fraction of...
I know, right?
Yeah.
It's just a fraction of... I mean, there were so many other things that I would have loved to talk about because of time as well. And as you're talking, the one thing that I want to tell you why is that one thing I've loved about you and your brand, besides like the authenticity, but just you've kind of like given women, let me say women, especially women 50 plus, just freedom. Because I think a lot of black women, especially Zimbabwean women, are very think a certain way, want to do certain things that we're expected to do things in a certain way. But I think just you being there and out there and doing it, you're like, okay, look, I'm doing it. It's okay. Yeah. And I love that about your brand. I love the freedom.
Yeah.
Your brand represents the freedom. Yeah. So we've packed our bags and we have our passports and we're going to the airport. Where are we flying off to?
We are flying to Rwanda.
Wow.
Yeah, that's one thing I still need to do.
Really?
I need to go track the gorillas in Rwanda. I actually wanted to do that last year. Mm-hmm. So the plan is to go and do a triathlon, and then soon after the triathlon, then hit the Amazon jungle and track some gorillas. That's one thing I want to do in this lifetime.
Wow.
You didn't see that coming?
I didn't see that coming. Not at all. I was not even expecting that. But then coming from a woman like you, you know, you're what would I say? Well, you're a show starter. I'm looking for the word. It's just gone from my head. Menopause brain sometimes, disruptor. That's it.
Yeah.
So being a disruptive person, I think it suits you,
Yeah.
If it's been amazing having you. And I just want you to sign off with a message to our viewers as they're closing off. What is the one message that you have for them as they're going into the week?
All right. So, I know. I just like you're saying. I didn't just be you. Don't conform. Don't conform to the norm, the societal norm, because there's no rule book to life. Like you're saying, I grew up being told girls don't wear shorts, just like or don't dress in such a way, don't do ABC, don't ride with. Just be yourself. Just you only have one life to live at the end of the day. Just one. There's no prizes, there's no awards for conforming, as long as you're not hurting anybody. That's my motto. Just be kind to one another. You don't know what people are going through. And I am a Christian, so pray, pray, because because there's a higher being. There's somebody who looks up to us. There's somebody who guides my way. I know that for me to be where I am right now, it's not that I'm cleverer than the next person, but there's somebody who's guiding, there's somebody who's looking out for me. And have faith. Have faith in whatever it is that you believe in. You need to have faith.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's been amazing. And I actually really wish we had more time because there's so many things that we didn't touch that we still, so we need to do a part 2, especially about menopause and training. We need to come back and do that. So to our viewers, as you're going into the week, enjoy your week and remember, do not conform and stay authentic to yourself. And remember, each one of us here was brought on this earth for a reason and a purpose by God. And we need to make sure that we are authentic and we love one another. That's one thing. Let's be kind to one another. So many people are going through stuff, like you said. So let's be kind as we're going into the week, and I'll see you next week. Have a fantastic week.